CPI numbers are out, and I was expecting a little bit better move in stocks and crypto, but that's okay. That's okay. We've got the whole Fed meeting tomorrow, so there's still time. So for people that are trying to go long, I could definitely see price going down a little bit today because they're ready for some buy the rumor, sell the news tomorrow, because Feds more than likely are not going to raise rates, which is good because, gosh, where are we at right now with the Treasury rate? We are pretty much at 5.5%. Which is, I guess, decent. It's definitely way, way high compared to what we were at during the whole pandemic. We were at 0.25, which is absolutely just freaking crazy. So let's look at some stocks. Pretty much a good index for the entire market is the S&P 500. And what am I looking at here? So what am I excited for and maybe not excited for? And I'll show you. We've got a rising wedge, and we are pretty much just bouncing throughout this guy for the last few months, right? We've been just staying in here. We haven't really broken out, and I am on the actually monthly chart, so I need to zoom in so that we can get a better idea of what potentially is going on. So if I'm looking at the daily, you can see that the RSI is actually becoming oversold when we look at stuff. And typically this is something where you're going, oh, no, don't do that. But one of the indicators that you can use is you can actually buy as soon as it becomes oversold, because once you buy as soon as it becomes oversold over that 70, you usually have a pretty good market up here because there's no telling how long it's going to stay oversold. And then you sell once it goes back under, right? It's a different ideology when it comes to certain things. But here, I'll move that out of the way. And what we could definitely see here is we could see a bounce up and a rejection and boom, before we go up. And truthfully, over the long term, next couple years, I could see us going up to 6,000 during the next, honestly, I wouldn't say before the election, but during the next presidential election, we could see this $6,000 with this 50% increase in the S&P 500, where there's lots of new money flowing in. And if I'm looking at gold, we are just under 2,000, right? We have broken below, and we're finding a little bit of support right around 2,000, but you got to be aware that we could get caught right at 1,900. Gold is looking, for me, it is looking pretty bearish right now. We've just broken under the 50. Yeah, so there could be some good downsizing coming on gold. When we look at natural gas, wow, what is natural gas looking like? Natural gas looks to me as if it's going to get caught right here about 2. So there's a little bit more downside coming in on natural gas. And so I'm not looking at getting into some natural gas right now. Is it looking like it is oversold? It is oversold. But again, like I said, one of the indicators you could use is as soon as we bump under, boom, you can start selling, and then as this guy stays under here for a little while, then you exit once we're coming back up here, right? It's some strategy that people use. That is what we do. If I'm looking at Ethereum, got to look at Ethereum. What is going on with our handy-dandy Ethereum? We could get a bounce of the RSI off of the 50, and we've got some bearish divergence going on, okay? And what do I mean by that is you've got two conflicting lines happening. So here, it's just plain and simple. Where is this guy going? This guy is declining on the RSI, Relative Strength Index. And then where are we going? We've got a high, then we've got a higher high. So both of those are opposite. And that's what happens when you get a divergence. This guy arguably should have been higher than this guy right here, but it is not. We're sitting here in a range, and that's where we've seen this gigantic dump. And again, for today, we've got about 9 hours before the daily closes on here. And I'm not super worried because I am still bullish on crypto right now because I've got a trend line here that has not been broken realistically yet. It is looking as if I just got to move it differently, right? And that is the thing with lines, is you move them. But as I moved them, look at what fancy ended up happening. We touched. Here was the giant liquidation on Ethereum where we touched, right? This guy is at 21.19, and it is holding above this level, right? This is the level where we break down below 2,000, and I'm saying that the bull run is not yet happening soon, where we had a fake out in the markets. But I don't think that is going to happen. Truthfully, if I'm being biased about something, I don't think that is going to happen. I think this is just a natural correction here. Yes, it happened very fast, but we are still above some of the lows, right? If we make this a reversal where this guy starts to go back up here and touch again 1,400, because there's a lot of resistance. If I'm looking at the weekly here, there's a lot of resistance at that $1,400 range, right? We're at the top of a lot of trading volume from prime time during the pandemic, during the last bull cycle here. But looking at the daily, to me, this is still looking strong. The RSI is looking strong. Yeah, we've got that bearish divergence on here. We might see some more going down, but truthfully, you hang out above 2,000. We hang out above 2,000, and it's gravy. You could potentially see a bounce here, but I think we are getting that bounce, especially ahead of the Fed rates that are going to happen tomorrow, where they're arguably not going to raise anything. Because if I look at stuff, we climbed 0.1% over the last month, okay? And we had a June 2022 peak. So the Feds probably are not going to raise anything, at least now. And then come the next time, I believe their next meeting is it March? March of next year? Therefore, we might even see a rate cut, and real estate's going to go up. People are going to start borrowing more money. People are going to get more in. Boom, boom, boom. I read something earlier this morning on my iPad about MicroStrategy buying something like 40,000 Bitcoin over this year. Just dollar cost and average the hell out of stuff. Crazy, right? I'm honestly selling some of my stocks to buy some Bitcoin right now, because it's like, okay, during this next cycle, what am I going to make more money at? Am I going to make more money having 100 grand in the S&P 500, or am I going to make more money having 100 grand in Bitcoin? Well, for me, it's Bitcoin. It's just moving, and then maybe I'll move some of that money to real estate once things fall off, because I'm looking at trying to buy an investment property. So, yes, interest rates are awful right now, but truthfully, I kind of think that now is a decent time to start looking for buying a house, right? Because it's the whole Warren Buffett thing. When people are greedy, get fearful. When people are scared, be greedy. What happened during last year, or maybe a couple of years ago? Rates were so low. It was so easy to borrow money. You had people buying houses, and the prices just kept going up by 10, 20. People were buying houses sight unseen. No appraised value, no inspection. It could be collapsing, falling under. It was awful. But buyers had no leeway, because sellers were just like, oh, you don't do it, I got multiple offers. Boom, boom, boom. That's a madhouse. Shouldn't be buying a house when that happens. Absolutely. So everyone talking about like, oh, I'm waiting to buy a house when the market crashes. Dude, the market is already crashed. Prices are already a good 5 to 10% lower than what they were a couple years ago. But no, it's not as low as people want it to be, right? You're never going to be able to have your cake and eat it too, unless you have two cakes. But come on, you're never going to have two cakes where you have that. So truthfully, if you can afford something right now, it's not the worst idea to go put something, and as long as you can afford it today, great. I almost guarantee you'll be able to afford it tomorrow, because rates will get cut. You'll be able to refinance, get a lower rate, and you're golden, right? You won't be upside down. But that's my whole deal on real estate at the moment. But man, okay, let me look at the 4 hour here. we're just bouncing inside this range. And again, we've got another higher wedge pattern, right? And then we're just staying in it. It's just, when are we going to break out? So there's lots of money to be made in between this stuff, but we will see, right? I still have a price target of 2,500 to 2,800 for Ethereum, especially when that ETF gets released. And here, let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, same thing. We've got the divergence. Boom, RSI divergence, giant tank. We've got a green candle on the daily, and we're soon to be turning red here. This guy opened at, gosh, where did it open? 42, above 42. We've gone down about $1,000 since the whole CPI stuff. To me, this is just the flush out before the Feds talk tomorrow. I wouldn't mind seeing a bounce here. If I was to trade anything right now, this area would be my catch can. Okay. Yes, it's not the most advantageous trade to take right now because of that. But also, you know, look at this. We are bouncing off the same trend line. That's really what I'm looking at, is this trend line here. Yes, we had the liquidation. We had the liquidation event that happened 2 days ago over the weekend, and that fleshed out a whole lot, right? Truthfully, my stop would be right around that 40,000. If you were safer, it would be down here, but that would be the area. And you need to have real low leverage if you're going to have a stop under there, because here's that massive area catch right around that 38K. I think we're still safe if Bitcoin tanks further to 38,000. Bitcoin tanks further to 38,000. We're still good. We're still good. Ideally, do I want to see it just bounce off of this guy here? Maybe another little pin bar, then back up. Boom. Where is that? Where is this area? It's $48,000. Here, let me zoom into the weekly. Move that over here. Boom. We're up here. 48,000 is going to be a level where there's a lot of selling pressure. There's a lot of selling pressure at 48,000. That is where I'm looking, where we could then catch right around 44 to 48, and we'll enter into a new range where starting of next year, we might start the year off at 48, go down to 44, bounce up a little while before we start moving into another range. And to me, that would be another bull flag to move even further up. If I'm looking at the weekly, so far the week, shit, I didn't. Okay, I'm not logged in. So I'm not logged in, so I did not accidentally buy something by hitting that. Good. So we have a red candle, which is kind of healthy, because look at how many freaking candles we've had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row for the weekly before we got something. We haven't even seen that. Where's the monthly? Okay, yeah, we could see that, but the weekly, it'd be okay for this guy not to quite get to 44. That's why I'm honestly looking to buy in a Bitcoin under 44. Right? That's my plan here. What else have I haven't looked at? We can look at crude oil. Oil is bouncing, right? We might get a bounce off of 56.10 here, but this to me is a decent trade opening up opportunity where we could bounce here, where we're finding support. That to me is looking good. Silver. Let's look at silver. Man, I haven't looked at silver in a little while. What is silver looking like? Silver, again, everything is looking like they're spring loaded, right? To me, everything, all commodities, gold, silver, natural gas, right? Crude oil, they are all spring loaded, ready to boom. So this is where that whole HODL methodology comes in, to where you're going with it, where Ethereum and Bitcoin, they look like boom, they're getting ready to spring load to bounce again. So anyway, I will be back tomorrow for the interest rate hike. We'll see how that happens. Till next time, this is Johnny Crypto, here to help you guys make some money. Yep, Cheryl CPI already came out, and it was 0.1% higher. So we're at 3.1. Anyway,